Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to talk to you about the 4 common pitfalls that most investors make when doing rent-to-rent SA. So for me, the first one is overpaying on rent. I see it time and time again where people are paying far too much money for properties. They may be seeing the shiny penny syndrome, they're not analysing them correctly, and they don't really understand what they're getting into. And they pay far too much for the rent, which effectively eats the profit. Now, this serviced accommodation model, it works incredibly well as long as you acquire the property correctly. So you need to rent it at the right price, or you need to buy it at the right price. If you're buying property, you've got a lot more leeway, because your mortgage is going to be a lot less than a rent. But if you're renting it, you can make anywhere 500 quid upwards, but if you get it wrong, you can start to hurt your bank balance. So one of the main reasons people overpay for rent is they either take a deal from a deal sourcer and they don't check the figures themselves, or they don't understand how to analyze the areas properly and see what the demand's going to be like. But more importantly, they emotionally invest in the rent. So they might want to get into it and they want to get going, they're eager, they've educated themselves, they have seen the success that other people have had in the game, and they want to get into it. They go into a property and they're emotionally involved in it all. It's really easy to do. I bought a family home recently, so I went through that experience again, and it brings back the memories that you emotionally invest when you're investing for your family and the lifestyle it's going to create and everything like that. But this is not that. We are investing for profit. Therefore, we need to invest with logic. We need to invest with numbers, and everything should be done on a numbers game. I quite often get asked, will this area work? Will that area work? Does this property type work? Yes and no is always the answer. It might work for somebody and it might not work for another person. And what I mean by that is someone might pay the right rent for the property and someone might pay the wrong rent for the property. They both work with serviced accommodation, but at what levels do they work? One will be hugely successful, one might have minimal success, could even potentially lose money if they've overpaid on the rent. So it's all about the numbers. I also get asked, what do you think the average nightly rate will be here? What do you think the occupancy will be here? Again, just wrong questions that are getting asked. You need to be analysing the data. There's plenty of videos on my channel which shows you how to analyse an Airbnb operation and see if it will work in a certain area. Put the data into a deal analyzer. If you'd like a copy of mine, just comment below deal analyzer and I'll send you the link. An important tool that not only saves time, but it takes the emotion out of the investment. So you put the numbers in, rent, bills, and then you work out what your nightly rates are going to be, what the occupancy levels, etc., all in a format, and it basically tells you green light, yes, invest, red light, don't invest. Really important that you take the emotion out of your property investing. Just as we're at the halfway point in this video, if you do like the content, please hit the like button and also subscribe. Don't forget to comment below. If you'd like me to answer any questions throughout this video, just hit the comments below. And don't forget to hit the bell notification so that you get a notification every time we do launch a new video. Now, back to the 4 mistakes that typically are made through a rent-to-rent SA investor. Number 3 is the setup. I did it myself at the beginning, far too much on setups. There's a video on my channel which shows you my first ever unit. Spent fortunes on a bathroom that I just didn't need to do. It wouldn't have made any difference to the revenue. I could have put a lesser bathroom in there and it would have still drove the same amount of revenue. I'm pretty sure of that. But we make these mistakes, but what we've got to do is learn from them, and that's why I'm telling you right now, do not spend too much setting your properties up. I see it all the time on Facebook where people are posting these amazing looking apartments and the detailed paneling and feature walls and all the bits and bobs in it, and yes, they're phenomenal and there is a market for that, but make sure you understand what your avatar is, because in general the majority of service accommodation business are going to host traveling contractors and weekenders, as I call them, people coming to stay. Yes, you'll have holiday destinations and they're kitted out totally different, but the mainstream service accommodation, if you're renting in cities, if you're renting most rent-to-rent properties are going to be for the mainstream avatar, which is traveling contractors and weekenders. You don't need the most amazing place to get a good nightly rate on that, and even if you did have an amazing place, you're probably not going to get that much more of a nightly rate. So what we've got to do is make sure we curb this setup cost. what's important, what's required, what's essential, what's non-essential, what can you get away with. And for me, it's all about listening to your guests. So I try and set them up as minimal as I can. So try and get away with as much as we can. And then if a guest says that something's missing or that, they would experience, one of the best things you can ask every single guest is, what is the one thing we could improve to help future guest experience? That can go in an automated email, or if your guest handlers are ringing and asking for follow-up and see if we can get more bookings out of them. That one question can give you so much information, and then you can change your setups. If they say it lacks plants, add some plants in. If it lacks, a washing machine, put a washing machine in. Whatever it might be, listen to your guests and listen to your reviews. But you're better off going minimal at the start and then improving rather than overspending and not making any money. So really important that you don't get too involved and you don't put too much in the setup. The final point is the set and forget mentality. I see this all the time. People think they can plug a pricing software in and all of a sudden that's all they need to do. They never need to look at the pricing again. People think that they just set it up on their platforms and they don't ever need to look at their pictures. They don't need to update their descriptions. They don't need to update their property titles. It's always a good exercise every single week to check all your properties and from a customer's point of view. How does it look? What's the competition doing? Is your picture order okay? Really important that you're all over your properties and do not just set and forget them. It doesn't matter how big you go. The bigger you go, you just get other people to do it for you. You make it part of their role, and then they take ownership of it. But you do, just because you're big doesn't necessarily mean I can't check 100 plus properties. You've got to do it. It's really important. The finer detail is what drives the profit. So don't get into the set and forget mentality. So that's my top 4 tips, or the 4 fatal mistakes that most rent-to-rent SA operators do fall into. So hopefully you can now avoid them and have a successful journey. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.